Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be ranking my Oden's eyeshadow palettes. Welcome back, and today we are doing a tradition on this channel, so we are doing my, I think, bi-yearly now Oden's eyeshadow palette ranking. I like to do eyeshadow palette rankings from a few of the big brands that I have most eyeshadows from, so I did in the beginning of the year a ranking video from Cosmic Beauty eyeshadow palettes. Now I'm gonna do the Oden's eye ones. I don't think I have big enough palette collections from other brands, but I could maybe, there are like few brands where I think I have like 5 or to 4 palettes that I could maybe combine in one video, because I do think these are kind of fun and it kind of shows where my makeup preferences are. So, reason why I have a lot of Oden's eye palettes, Oden's eye used to be one of my favorite indie brands, but they have fallen a bit on the wayside. I did discuss, I think, when I did the Cosmic Beauty palette ranking, that Cosmic Beauty has pretty much taken the place as the favorite indie brand, purely because of how well they are able to price their palettes and the color stories. I think with Oden's eye there's been a bit of a challenge recently that not all of their color stories haven't quite nailed it. I think the seasonal collection where they launched 4 palettes during last year, that's actually the last collection that I have shopped Oden's eye from. I think that was okay. The holiday palette, that was this very big 2-pan sort of like eyeshadow, very big eyeshadow palette that had the 2 sides of it. I was not impressed with that one, and during this year they actually have not launched a traditional palette. They have launched their singles collection, so during the Christmas season they came out with the singles collection from their OG holiday palettes. By the way, I still have the OG holiday palettes, we are going to see them around. And now I think in the beginning of this year they did launch a single bundles in collaboration with Heather Austin, but I do think a lot of people haven't been exactly happy, and I think I'm include those people because the singles bundles, they are more costly than the pre-made palettes. That this is related to makeup production cost, because always producing single shadows is more expensive than producing pre-made palettes. So I'm hoping that this is not the trend that we are going with the brand. I do know Oden's eye have said that the singles quality is better than the eyeshadow quality in the pre-made palettes, and I can believe that, because obviously when you make like single products, it is much more easier to have maybe a quality control than when you are doing the pre-made palettes. But I would hope that we would still like see, maybe during now summer, a proper summer release with some pre-made palettes, because the palettes are probably more accessible to a lot of people rather than the single bundles that are more expensive to buy. But that's a bit about the intro. Let's start ranking the palettes that I have from the brand. So I counted the palettes. We are having altogether 8 palettes from the brand. So on the last place is this one. So this is the Winter Alva palette. So this is the sort of one of the seasonal palettes that we saw from last year's, I think it was a fall launch or a summer launch, I already forgot. So purely, first of all, the quality of this particular collection, I think it was a decent quality from Oden's eye, but this is definitely not their best quality in terms of eyeshadow formula. And also, second, why this is ranking last is the color story. It is a blue-purple heavy color story, but I do still want to keep this in my collection, because I don't think the other palettes I have from the brand, I don't have exactly something similar to this one. And I do still think you can create nice looks with this one, but this is purely because of the color story and a bit about the quality why this ranks as the last Oden's eye palette that I own. Then on place number 7 is this one. So this is the, what was this one? So this is the Silver Bliss palette. This was their holiday collection 2 years ago. And why this is ranking on the 7th place, in terms of quality, I do think the quality of this particular holiday collection, it's not the superb quality we got in the OG holiday collection, but it was a pretty good quality. So already compared between this one and the winter palette, this is a bit better in terms of quality. Why this is still on the place number 7 is that it's not a primary color story, because it is quite of a grungy palette, and it's also a palette that has red shades in it, and red eyeshadow, I have discussed this, a pop of red eyeshadow I'm good with, but if it's a majority heavy like red eyeshadow palette, it's not gonna be my favorite. I do still like this one. Obviously I like all the palettes because they do have a place in my collection, but just because of the color story, it is still ranking on the bottom half of this particular palette. Then on place number 6 is this is also from the seasonal collection from last year. So this is the, what was this one? Awesome Alva. So I actually, again, the quality of this one, it's pretty similar to the winter palette I showed, but why this surpassed the previous palette, which was the holiday palette from a couple of years ago, is purely because I actually do like this color story. I have had this in my rotation after I originally tried this one, I think a few times, and I actually, having now tried this a bit more, I actually do kind of like this color story. For me, this is a palette that I can categorize. It's like, for me, half spring and half autumn palette, because I do think for spring we are having some very bright pops of greens, and there's even like yellow and then some peach in here, but then for the autumn we do get some grungier green shades. So I do actually think in terms of like color story, I already like this a lot more, so that is why it's placing number 6. Even though the quality of this one, it could have been, if the quality of this would be even better, I think this would be ranking higher, but because this seems to be, this is like the more like okay quality from the brand, that is why it's still on the place number 6. But as I said, I do enjoy this color story a lot. So then we are having on the place number 5. So this is a palette that I do adore in terms of color story, but unfortunately it is lacking a bit of depth. So this is the Rosy Jingles. So this was launched on the same time as the, what was it? Silvery Bliss. So this is the second holiday palette that from Christmas 2 years ago. It's not very Christmassy, so that is also maybe why it's a bit like a ducking points from this one. But this is like my ideal Easter like color story, because we have these like very pastel pinks, there's some dainty lilacs, and then I think there's a pop of yellow in this one. This could be ranking definitely higher, but this completely lacks depth. The only like deeper shade it has is this brown here, and unfortunately I think this was the first collection where they tried this sort of cream to powder shadow, and they have included it also in the other palettes they have launched after. And unfortunately, this is a very horrible formula. I would very much hope that we would not see it in their palettes, because it's just sticky. It doesn't move once you get it to your eyelids. No matter what, do you use brushes or your finger, it's just like impossible to work with. So because the only deep shadow that this has is also in a formula that you can't really work with, that is why it isn't like any higher. If this would have more deepening up shades, and if it would actually like, and if they would be in a traditional like powder matte formula, then I could say that this could actually be ranking like already in my top 3 or top 4. So while I do adore this color story, and especially for spring Easter time, I do think this is beautiful, but because it has it lacks the depth, and because also it has some formulas that I'm not a fan of, that is why it's in the place that it is in. So then we are on the top 4. So this is the Jewels and Gem, and this is the palette that I like to say from Oden's side that it's the most neutral thing that they have ever done, even though this is actually not a neutral palette, but this is very good at parading as being a neutral palette. They have actually brought this back. I am a bit unsure if you buy the new variation of this one, that is it like what kind of formula it is, so I would be pretty interested to actually see maybe reviews, but mine is in the like original formula, and this again was one of the better formulas they have done, and I do like the different textures this has, and this is a truly what I would always say a grungy fall palette. You get some mauves in this one, but you do get some also very like grungy tones in this one, so I think that if you are into your maybe like more grungier makeup looks, this could be a good option, but you do, as I said, get some mauves also in this one, so it kind of balances it out. The only shade I think that I'm a fan of, there's one of the white sparkly shades, I think it's either this shade or this shade that is kind of difficult to work with, because it's so loosely packed. It really like it really doesn't want to stick on your eyelids. But otherwise, the shimmer formula in this one works very well, and also the matte formula. So as I said, if you're looking for something close to neutral from Oden's side, this could be a good option. But it is when you actually start looking at the shades, it's not very neutral. But I'm still hoping we could get a true neutral palette from the brand. It would be quite awesome. So top 3, I don't think my top 3 has very much changed during the year, so if you have seen my previous ranking videos from this brand, you kind of already know how this is gonna go. So first one is the Merry Christmas palette, and this is yes from the very like OG when this original launched. I'm still, I think, belong to the lucky people who managed to get this when they originally launched. So why I always rank this as my number 3 is purely because I can't use this as a cohesive palette, because for me combining the greens and reds, I do think I did make quite a good attempt. I actually had this one and the Christmas Eve palette that we're soon gonna see. I did actually have these in my sort of shop my stash series that I'm doing this year, where I'm re-reviewing some older palettes. And this one was still good to go, so I have actually tested this very recently, and I can still say that even though this is getting to be very old, this is still very usable. The shimmers have maybe, they have lost some of their creaminess, but they are still very workable. But as I said, even though I do try to make an active effort, I usually how I end up using this one, that I either use this red orangey side alone, or I use the green side alone. But you combine the two colors, for me it's not intuitive, which is pretty odd, because there is the palette that is ranking first. With that one I don't have any issues combining the greens and pinks in that one, but with this one, with the reds and greens, not exactly my favorite color story to combine. But alone, when you use the sections, I do still think the looks come out very beautiful. Then the number 2, so this one is the Christmas Eve palette. So again, I have recently had this on my rotation, so I can still say that even though, again, this is getting to be very old, it is still very usable. And when I had this on my sort of shop my stash rotation, I still remembered why I praised this highly. This is one of the like few blue-green palettes that I say that I actually very much enjoy working with, and it's something related to the sort of muted undertones. They are still like in this one, yes, the shades are pretty crunchy, but they are also pretty like punchy, so it's kind of colorful palette, but it's colorful made crunchy. The shimmers, again, because it's getting to be an older palette, they are not as emollient as they used to be, but they are still workable, and the looks that I created with this one for the sort of review that I did about this one all came out very nicely. It's just so there's something very intuitive about combining the shades, and that's the reason why this still like ranks above the Merry Christmas palette. And yeah, still this still has a very place in my collection and plays very close to my heart, and I'm gonna be absolutely devastated the day that I will have to declutter this one, but also the Merry Christmas one. And then the number 1, so this has not changed, I think, so the Hella palette. This was the Angelica Nyqvist original collab. I don't think you're able to get this one anymore. I think they did a short rerun of this one during the last fall, which was interesting considering that Angie already like last year had her own Sinch beauty brand, but I do still think that even though Angie now has her own brand, this also is still like very good to go. I think this is also something that I did. Have I already included this in my shop my stash, or is this actually something that I have done the looks for but has not yet included? I can't remember right now. I'm gonna put it in the text because I'm now blanking about the fact that was this already, because I do think I have done the looks for this one, but it could still be that the video is still on my to-do list. But anyway, this has been a palette that I have actually tried, just like I had tried the Merry Christmas and the Christmas Eve palette. It is still good to go, and for me, this is a very like, I love working with this one because I like the green tones, I like the pink tones. You get some deep depth also in this one, and I think as an overall palette, it's just something fun and very unexpected for me. Even if you would initially go looking at this that, hey, aren't those kind of like difficult shades to combine with, but I still do like this one. I do still think from color stories that Oden's Eye has done during the years, this is still the best one that they have. Unfortunately, you can't get this any longer, but if you did manage to get this either when they did the rerun last year or when this was originally last, I would like highly recommend using it, digging it out. It's now a summer season, so I usually think of this as a spring palette, but obviously you can use this any time of the year. And I do think the looks that you get with this one, at least for me, it gets me excited when I see this one, and also excited when I get to use it. That was my ranking of my Oden's Eye palettes. Comment down below maybe what have been your favorite palettes from the brand. If you liked this video, push the like button, subscribe and show, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope I see you in that video. Bye bye!